And welcome to. Wait a minute. That's not Mike. Mike, you've changed. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Off the Cuff Paranormal. As you can see, our dear friend and from Faculty X Investigations and investigator extraordinaire, Miss Kate Thornton. She has joined us tonight because our dear friend Mike cannot make it. So, Kay, once again, welcome to the show. Now, I don't know. I know this. We are live streaming apparently on Facebook, and I think there's like a delay on Facebook. I'm hoping it's working on Facebook. I don't know. I've asked people to message me if it does. So if I see a message, let me just see here. No, that's you. So, yeah. Anyway, nobody's on right now, so I'm assuming that people will join us eventually. And hopefully this is working on Facebook. So there's no way for me to find out. I don't know if you can find out, but there's no way for me to find out.
I've got no idea. Don't look at me. I'm techless. Oh, look, I can sort of go out a shot as well.
Well, normally there's people on by now, and they join us, but I'm not seeing that, so I don't know whether somebody will, somebody won't. I just don't know. So this is a whole new scheme of things for me to run it on Facebook.
I like this.
The old scheme of things. It's the scheme of things. It's the scheme of things. Well, tonight, folks, and anybody that happens to be listening, whether you're on Facebook, and please, I ask somebody to please message me if they're on Facebook and they can see me. You can reach me on Messenger or whatever. Send me quick, or just come on YouTube now because we are live. And let me know whether it's Holly or Ken or anybody. I know they're out there. I know they're watching. But tonight's show, now originally we were going to discuss something along the lines of what I'm going to tell you now, but it was kind of changed, of course, because Mike wasn't there and I didn't have time to put a lot of stuff together. But it's all about, I guess, really the methods when it comes to paranormal investigations. And one of the things, I guess, or a lot of things I find is there's so many groups out there. Like, I mean, you know, probably more groups than I do. And I mean, just in reference to whether it's TAPS or just in general groups out there, how many groups do you think actually exist in North America?
In North America, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess. I mean, I know BC has, well, there's us two as TAPS family members, and there must be, what, 5, 6 just down in the Vancouver area, something like that.
Oh, yeah, at least.
At least. I mean, and that's not mentioning any of the other ones that we don't know about. I mean, I know there's probably about 3 here in the interior or thereabouts.
Okay.
But as you go further north, who knows? I think there's another one, or there used to be one going down towards the Kootenays. So I would say we have maybe 25 in BC.
Sorry. Hang on a second. There we go. Hang on. I got a little bit of an overlay here because I think my Facebook Live is now live. So you say about 20?
20 to 25, I would say, in BC.
And that's just here in BC.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It's crazy. I mean, you know, you get these really small groups, you know, maybe just 2 or 3 that are completely independent that we don't know about, you know, so and off they go and they do their thing. You have the larger groups. I mean, we are sister teams, you know, so I mean we've got quite a large group between us, if you want to call it that. And then we know of other groups dotted around.
Okay. Oh, listen, hang on, okay. We got you, because I think I had to go push live on Facebook for us to actually go live on Facebook. So guys, if you're on Facebook and you need to leave a comment, I don't know if I'll see it here on the YouTube, because I'm on YouTube and I don't have my other computer set up on Facebook. So if you want, you can either come onto the YouTube one and leave a comment here, or I can go and run out and grab my computer right now and do that. But I can't do both at the same time, folks. So if we don't see anybody making comments, that's because we're on YouTube, not looking at the stuff on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, you want to leave a comment, come on back onto YouTube and leave a comment, okay? But I'll try to look for them here if I can. So we'll see. 22, 21, 22, 23 groups. That's huge for BC. And BC's not small, but it's not huge either.
No.
I mean, if you look across...
It is scattered around. I mean, you have Vancouver and you've got, Kamloops, you've got Kelowna. And then you're going maybe to the smaller cities and, that are dotted around all over. Who knows who we have hiding in these little backwaters?
That is true. That is definitely true. Excuse me. Yeah, that's just BC. Now, if you went North America, what are we talking? Hundreds?
Oh, easy. I mean, how many just TAPS family members? The groups.
Actually, I haven't even counted.
I know we've probably got maybe 2 groups per state.
Oh, really?
I think there's a couple of states that don't have TAPS family groups, but there are other groups in those states.
Okay. So basically hundreds of groups, and out of those hundreds of groups, I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm thinking to myself, out of those hundreds of groups, there has got to be. Karen said Facebook Live works. Wait, are there? Okay, because now Karen, if Facebook Live works, make a comment there. I got to see if I see it here, because if I don't see the comments here, it's only on Facebook, and I'm going to have to go grab my laptop, which means I'm going to have to abandon Kay here all by yourself for 2 minutes while I set up my laptop. So, and I don't want to do that.
No, don't do that.
Well, hopefully a comment will appear here, but I haven't seen any yet. So that's why I'm wondering if the comments are coming across the board or not.
And I have to apologize for looking bedraggled and white. As you know, I've been sick. So
that's all right.
I'm actually here with my little heat pad and I'm in my pajamas.
Well, that's all right. The color behind you and the color of the red actually adds color, so you're okay. Facebook user, hello. Somebody said hello. Yay! It works. It comes across. That's awesome. All right, we're good. Facebook comments do come across. So guys, if you're going to make comments, you can make them there or here. This is awesome that it's working, but I did have to go to Facebook and go live, which is really cool. So now I know. Lesson learned. It's I'm a little hand thing today, But yeah, that's really cool. Hello to both. I'm not sure who is making the comment, but hello back. Because we don't see the names. We don't see the names of the users making the comments on Facebook. So that's what I don't know. Okay. So if you want to tell us who you are, that's even better. At least we'll kind of see it, when it comes up. That's awesome. So with all these groups, there's so many groups. There's so many varying methods and approaches to investigating the paranormal, right? I mean, I only know how I do it. I know how you generally do it. I know how some groups do it. But there's got to be so many different approaches, so many different methods. Oh, it's Karen. Hello, Karen. It's got to be so many different methods and everything else to these approaches. And Karen, so we know it's you, just write Karen after you make a comment or something, because all we'll see is Facebook. But yeah, it's one of those things that how many different approaches, like what kind of approaches have you seen that that you either agree with or don't agree with?
Well, you talk about our approach. I mean, I know myself, if somebody reaches out to me, my first instinct is to research That's me. I mean, I will go gung ho. I will research everything I can find before I even go to a location. Where some people, they will, I've heard that they turn up at the location and then they'll do the research.
So
Um,
there definitely is. I mean, because I know I run into people that do that, as you said, but also some people that go there and they kind of do the research on the fly,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where others do, like you said, some people go in and just do the investigation and squat on the research. I
yeah,
mean, or
yeah,
vice versa for that matter. They do the research and find out, well, really the place is not worth investigating, right? So there's so many different approaches. Um, what about now? Let's just to take the approaches just a little bit differently here. We like when my team goes and does an investigation, we approach it from as many angles as we can,
hmm
you know. Um, but not everybody is really good at doing the various aspects of those angles. So I don't know if you understand what I'm getting at. Um, for instance, like there are times where we're really nice about our approach. There are times when we're not so nice about our approach. There's times when we're really blunt,
yeah.
and times when we're really caring, concerned, and whatnot like that. Um, do you feel that those approaches are valid during times, or are there ones that really shouldn't be valid
I
or used?
think you have to take each case on its own merits. I don't think you could, um, for example, you wouldn't want to go into, say, a hospital where it's been maybe a psych ward and demand, you will talk to me. I could see that if you went into a prison and, I mean, we've got friends who actually are, um, what do you don't call them prison warders out here, do you? What do you call them?
Jails?
Um, no, 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 no. The guards within the facilities, and they are trained. When they're talking to prisoners,
Oh yeah, yeah.
they have to have a certain authority.
Mm-hmm.
But I think going into maybe a prison, you don't want to go in all sweetness and light, especially if you're maybe female going into what was a man's prison. You need to put down some ground rules. You need to have a little bit of authority in your voice, that confidence. If
Mm-hmm.
you were to go into somewhere where there's been children, you soften your tone, you come down to their level, so to speak. So I
Yeah,
think whichever way we approach, whichever angle that we're going to come at, I think we need to look at it maybe from who we think we might be dealing with. If you want,
true.
if you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Karen said bulls.
Excuse
Bulls?
me.
Bull- Bulls? I'm not sure what she means by bulls, laugh out loud. I'm
Bulls.
lost on that one, Karen. You got me on bulls. Sorry, we're lost on that one. But well, no, I agree with you. I agree with you, Kay. I think that it does absolutely depend upon the location
Yeah.
and how you approach it. But I mean, do you think at any point in time it is necessary to actually go in? And I hate to use the term because it's something that a lot of people, and I hear from a lot of people that no, 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 you don't do that, you don't do that, you don't do that. But I want to bring it up because sometimes I think it is necessary to a degree. And I'll just say to a degree because there's different levels of it. And now what I'm talking about is provoking.
Provoking.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there's like, there's a point where you can provoke, which is way over the top. Oh, Karen said nickname for prison guards, bulls. Well,
That's a new one.
you learn something new every day. I didn't know that. Well, thank you, Karen.
It's not what I'd call them. What we were taught. I'm not going to say that on live.
Is it that bad?
Well, it's a bit derogatory.
Hey, if it's fact, it's fact. What'd you used to call
Screws.
them? Oh, because they put the screws to you.
Ooh, they might do.
That's what I'm going with. I'm not going anywhere else. That's what I'm going with. But
I don't know that firsthand, by the way. I just want to put that out there.
oh, this was passed down, was it? Well, okay, so back to provoking. I think that there's the line of a soft provoke, a medium intense provoke, and then a very intense provoke, which it's very rarely I've ever hit that top line of things, that very intense provoking. But I think I've used both the mild and the medium ends of things. Maybe I have done the other side once in a blue moon. But from my perspective, I think that sometimes that concept and that approach can be used, because if you're in a situation where somebody is being threatened, or they think they're being scared and manipulated, and things are outright frightening the family, then is what they're really going to answer somebody going, hi, we're not here to hurt you or harm you, we just want to get some answers from you. If you haven't gotten any response from that approach, then maybe you have to say, well, hey, tit for tat, pardon my French, but here we are, and I'm going to be a little bit nasty because you're being a little bit nasty. I don't know if it's, but then again, we're always out to get a result, right? We're always.
I think when people talk about provoking, I mean they're really talking about pushing the buttons. I don't think they're talking about turning around and saying, hey, come on, you've got to stop this. You're scaring these folks, or we want you to talk to us. We know that you're here. To me, that's not provoking. That's just being a little bit more verbal, a little bit more pushy. But when people are provoking, I think there's a very fine line there, because if you go into a situation where there could be violence, there could be things thrown, and you start pushing buttons and really pushing buttons, you are, as lead investigators, you've got to watch out for not only your team getting hurt, but what you leave behind. If you provoke to a degree, and then you say, well, that was a great investigation, okay, have fun, let us know if anything happens. You go away, and 2 nights later, somebody in the family say, something really terrifying happens to them, then I think you that's when you really need to think, is it worth that sort of provocation, that where you could leave people in a situation?
It also depends, I think, too, is what the family's already gone through.
Yeah.
Right. And what they're willing to experience to try and find the ends result for things. Because if you're not getting answers one way, you need to try and push some buttons to try and get some answers to help and maybe reach the end result. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying that's something that I would always do, because it's not. It's just something that I think has to be in somebody's repertoire that they can pull back on and say, do I do this? But yeah, I agree with you. I think you have to think very carefully before you do.
Oh yeah,
I agree with that 100%. Now, I got to ask you a question. There's a method that has been brought in my way before. Okay, you know me. I have a unique method sometimes. And, you know, mine is more tied to, let's say, spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's just a little blurb. So I can say, hey, that's us spiritually going, in our inner light. Where do you think that kind of falls into play? I mean, do you think that people that go in and grab that spiritual connection and so on and so forth is a valid form, or should it be used? Shouldn't it be used? Should it be used sparingly? You know, where do you stand? Like, I already know, but they don't. These people have.
Yeah, I mean, before I met you in particular, it would be something I would say, no, I don't agree with this. I'm very, very skeptical about cold readers.
Mhm.
I've seen people pay hundreds of dollars to go to a psychic medium.
Yeah, yeah,
And they come back to me and they say, oh, well, she told me this and she told me that and she told me the other. And I said, well, I could have told you that. Well, how?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
said, because you're being cold read. The jewelry that you wear, the clothing that you wear, the way you hold yourself,
Mhm.
and what have you given away? So I am very much, I mean, we had a recent investigation where you and I decided that certain people would not be told a thing.
Yeah.
And then what we found after we'd done a sweep of the building and we all sat together and you guys told us, because we had this on record as well, and then the factual evidence that from research, it was quite mind-blowing how the
Yes.
two meshed. I mean,
Yeah.
it really was. I'm still very skeptical about certain people. I think it's very hard to say because I don't want to insult anybody, but I think there is a place in paranormal for it. I just think you need to know how to do it in a controlled environment as well. If you know.
I can agree with that. I can
Yeah.
agree with that. So there is a place for them, but it just depends on how they're used and when and where and all the
Yes.
rest of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I think that I find, and I mean, although I'm a sensitive myself, I mean, I think you probably heard me say this time and time again. You know what? I can spell this out, but I can be absolutely and totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it every time. I say it every time because I don't know. I don't know why I get stuff. I don't know where I get stuff. I do.
I think one of my biggest concerns is, when a group takes in a medium and they're saying, oh, well, I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that or I've got this. People, they can be very receptive to that.
Yeah.
And it's, oh, yeah, and she said this or he said this and I felt the same thing. And basically, you think, oh, okay, they've lost the plot now. They're just going along with what he said or what she said.
Yeah.
Because they're being driven by emotion.
Yeah. Are not even aware that they're letting on, like a lot of people will hook on to what people are saying. I find I do it too, where a lot of people hook on to what they're saying, and you kind of go, okay, well, I was right here or I was right here, and it might have been a little part, but it's a matter of kind of looking back, going, okay, that was interesting because it might have been correct, but I think for any medium, they have to sit back and really think, was it really correct, or was it just an inkling of something and it just happens to blend together? Like, I mean, it's really weird how it works, but I like to think there's a place for them. But I think
Oh,
that
definitely. I do agree with that, but in a very controlled manner.
yes, I don't believe that, having somebody like I do it myself sometimes. I'll be in an investigation, somebody will say something, and I will come up and say something. But if somebody just says, nope, it's like, okay, and just move on. I mean, no sense pushing it, no sense rehashing it, no sense just, well, what might have been this instead? No, if you don't get a response right off the bat, just don't keep trying. Just sit back and let it come to you. I
Yeah,
mean, sometimes it's the best way to do it, right?
yeah.
Um, there is another method that was mentioned to me before, and I think I got a picture of this one too. Let me go find it. Oops, not there. Uh-oh, I miniaturized you. This one, and I'm going to leave this up for everybody to read it. Okay, ready? Scientific method. You got your purpose, your research, your hypothesis, your
Here I
experiment,
am.
your analysis, and your conclusion. Scientific method. What do you think?
I think a lot of people call it now.
Well, sorry, I didn't hear that quite correctly.
I've heard a lot of people just saying, "What scientific method?" They have a voice recorder, they have a K2, and half the time they don't know how to use these damn things. So how can they say it's scientific when you don't know how to use the apparatus that you are scientifically using?
When you can't explain the scientific method behind the equipment that you're using, it's very rarely that it's scientific now, is it?
Well, that's right. I mean, say you're going in somewhere and you give somebody a tri-field or a mel meter, and you say, I want you to go in, I want you to do a sweep.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got my, here's my doofer, and I'm doing a sweep, and I'm going around like this. You can't do that, Do you know what you're looking for? No, I'm just doing this because I've seen them do it on TV. And it's
you move a tri-field that fast, you're not going to be able to read it anymore.
You're not going to get anything, no. And they're going up and down by a microwave oven or by the electrics in that are hidden in the wall, and I've got something, it must be a spirit here, because it's an EMF reader. Well, do you actually know what you're actually looking at or looking for?
But that being said, we know, at least I know, we know from, talking to people on TAPS, talking to people in other groups, there are people out there that are very much knowledgeable in what they use. Very much knowledgeable. They know them inside and out. Does it still say that they're scientifically doing it? I don't know, because unless you're actually a scientist and you have I don't know if they're PhDs or BYDs or whatever the heck they are. I mean, if they have that information and they're trained in that scientific approach, then I guess you could say that they use a form of a scientific method for doing it. And I think everybody does to an extent, but to claim that somebody just uses a scientific method, well, unless you have a scientist on your team, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I have trouble with the TV remote, so.
Well, I think it's more the fact that they're using a learned and practiced method with their instruments. But I mean, I still look at the EDI and go, all right, what's Earth's gravity at our level right now? Well, it doesn't count because it had to be where the level was at the investigation. So what was it then? And you have to figure out the relative humidity. You have to know these things in advance. And it's hard. It's a learning curve. It's a huge learning curve. And it's not easy because most people don't understand it.
No, I mean when you see people walking around with the EDI or walking around with the one of my favorites, the SLS camera.
Oh!
Oh, oh,
You mean? Just a minute, me. You mean that one?
that's the thing.
It's the infamous stick figure. I was going to get there.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that the scientific reasoning behind that one, but even so, fine, you want to use one, at least know how to use it. You don't walk around with it. It needs to be stationary. It needs to be on a solid surface, like the EDI. You don't walk around with it. It's there for a solid surface.
Well, not only that, it needs to have a blank background.
Yeah.
I mean, I, I have to take a deep breath because ever since it came out, yeah, exactly. Ever since it, ever since it came out, I was like, when it first came out, I thought, oh, this is cool.
Mm.
Wow, wow, this is really interesting. And I thought, this is really cool. Then I found out that it's based off a gaming console.
On the Connect, yeah.
Right? And the gaming console was designed to watch and mimic people's movements. So it was designed to look at whatever's happening in the room or you in front of it and make the figure on the game do exactly what you were doing, in front of it. So it took whatever it saw and it turned it into a figure.
A figure.
That's what it does. It doesn't do anything more than that. So when it is looking out at something and it sees something move, or it sees something that somebody's holding the camera and it moves and it's looking at something else, whether it's a stationary chair or not, it still thinks it's moving.
And it's going to try and make a humanoid character out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what happens. So when you put it at somebody else and they're moving, you might as well write it off.
And I do.
It's an interesting concept, and I've discussed this with Mike before, and and maybe someone online will give us his impression of this again, but I think if you had something made that was designed to negate any external factors, right, then it might give it some credit.
Yeah. But I mean, there is that, I don't know whether I don't want to advertise them, but there is a place down in Florida, and they do all the paranormal gear, and they've got some wonderful toys.
Oh, yes.
And if I could add all these toys to my shopping cart and pay the exchange rate and then actually get them here, because I mean we ordered something, didn't we? It was the EDIs, was that right?
Yeah, they went snail mail. That was my mistake.
They went everywhere.
They were. I mean, I swear to God, they went back and forth in the city 4 times. I swear to God. But folks, do not use the postal service in the U.S. because it will mess you up. Yeah. Especially trying to get something up. Oh my Lord, I'll tell you. They got here. They did get here.
They did. Oh my God. I do enjoy watching some of the shows, and I like to see the different pieces of equipment that they're using. And I do notice, especially with Ghost Hunters, with Jason and the guys, they use very limited gear, and they might use it once, and you might never see that piece of equipment ever again.
Well, okay, I'm going to stop you right there for a second. What ever was it with them when they started to use the smoke machine?
I think again that was they were hoping that whether they would actually see an apparition or something come through, or the smoke would get cut as something moved through it.
Okay. Because I thought this is a really, really cool way to creepify the show.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
That's what I thought.
we should get one.
I got one, thanks.
You've got one.
Well, I used to anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but again, you would have to be in a completely vacuum sealed building. Otherwise, a slightest draft or, a breath of air or vent or anything, and that smoke's going to waft around.
Yeah.
I've only ever seen them use it 2 or 3 times.
Okay, yeah, because I only saw it a few times myself.
Yeah.
So it kind of
that seems to have gone out the window now, that one. So, and this is what I like with certain groups. There is one of the other TV groups, and they use voice recorder, a Mel meter, REM pod.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. They've just cut it right down to the basics. Where other teams, they pull out all the new gadgets all the time.
Well, sometimes the basics is all you need.
I think it is. I mean, besides that, you're going to need a what they call the vests. The SWAT team vests for all the pockets that you've got to carry everything. I thought about, maybe I should get one of them. But
our technical guy, our other Mike.
Oh, the other Mike, yeah.
Yeah, he has the vest with a bunch of pockets in it. He often carries a bunch of stuff in.
Yeah, and just don't say anything to Catherine about cargo pants. She hates cargo pants.
Oh God, they should love me. Actually, Karen just goes, I believe they use, I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, it does. I believe they use equipment for advertising the manufacturers. Well, I guess some of them, maybe they do. I mean, after all, you're talking TV.
Could be sponsors.
Could be sponsors trying to get something done. That's true. Never thought of that. I mean, yeah. She just said, agreed, keep it simple. Yeah. Okay, so we're both on really kind of the same page with the stick figure. I mean, it kind of is. Kind of is what it is. So let me ask you something. Now, this is something I've never really had an experience with. Okay, I don't know if you have. I know you've looked at it more. I know you've talked about it more. I know there's a lady on right now that has dealt with it more. But I'm going, and it's not what you think it is.
Oh,
scrying.
Scrying. Yeah,
I mean, people use water, they use DVDs, they use mirrors, they use fire, they use all kinds of stuff.
I personally, I mean, I don't like mirrors. I have an absolutely beautiful obsidian sphere.
Yeah.
That I actually bought for scrying. And then I thought, do I actually want to bring something through? Do I actually want to do that? And it's just one of those things I'm sort of on.
But do you feel it actually would? I mean, you're literally talking about doing something that would open what we've classified as a portal. Not a pothole, a portal. Enough of those potholes today. Thank you, guys.
I watched. It was on Kindred Spirits, and this episode really struck with me. They used a mirror at 45 degrees. It was a I can't say it, psychomendium, where they have a mirror that's tilted at 45 degrees.
I did see that. but I wasn't quite sure what they did it for. But
Yeah. And then you sit there with a candle behind you and you stare into it. So it is a way of scrying in a way.
and they were hoping something would show up in the mirror behind them.
Well, they said that things did, and they actually brought in a spirit medium, and they said, yes, they believed that this mirror was actually not so much a portal, but it held energy.
So the mirror itself already
Yes,
supposedly had something.
it was the mirror itself. Now, back in England, if somebody died in the house, we would cover mirrors over. It was just one of those superstitions. I remember my brother actually saying to me after Mum and Dad had died, he actually wanted the mirror that used to hang over the fireplace. I wanted nothing to do with it. He says, I said, what's your reason? And he says, that mirror has seen a lot of things. He says, and I want it. So
maybe something drew him to it, where it drew you away.
Yeah, I don't like mirrors. The only mirrors I have are the ones that are in the bathrooms.
Well, you would, when you don't stand in front of those going Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. But yeah, no. Well, I love this. I had to put this comment up because this is what Karen said.
Yes.
Folks, that is so true. And somebody said, we just got home, belated greetings. I'm assuming with that kind of greetings, it's got to be our good friend Holly Ken, but I could be wrong. Welcome aboard. We've been talking about a lot of different things and methods and stuff for investigating, and we've touched on stick figures, we've touched on scrying, we've touched on sensitives, we touched on, what else have we touched on?
Stick figures.
No, we did say
scientific.
Uppers it is. It is Holly. Hi Holly. Hi Kat.
Hey Holly.
As you can see, Mike changed a lot.
I did. Look, I grew hair overnight. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, he's going to slap us both for this. Oh dear.
I've also developed an accent.
There you go. I do have another one. Now I know Mickey's cute. Mickey cute? Mickey. Oh. So I do have one. I do have another one that I took a picture of, and you'll get it right off the bat. This one is both interesting and is about as controversial as you're gonna get. So let me just put the picture up here, folks. Give me 1 second. Let me find it. Do. See? Told you. Yeah, exactly. The infamous. You do that really well, okay? You know that. The infamous ghost box. Okay. That's it. I'm getting rid of mine. We're just going to use you to create white noise from now on. That's it. We're done. But you have to go between beats, right? You have to stop that a little bit. But okay, so where do you stand with the use of this device?
I hate it. I really hate it.
And I guarantee Ken's going, yeah, Kate.
I really, really hate that box.
But you use it in the estates method.
I do. I like the Estes method.
So, sorry, you hate the box, but you use it in the estates method.
You know what it's like reviewing that thing.
Somebody just wrote, either Holly or Ken, I don't know who, but somebody just wrote pure torture.
Oh. Well, I do find the Estes method interesting. But again, you have to have the right headphones. You have to have the noise cancelling. You do have to have the sensory deprivation going on. What wasn't it you that did the experiment where? No, we did, where somebody was in a different room completely while the
Well,
questions.
we tried, but we failed. We have done that with the a bit of the interesting results, but we have found that. Oh, that was Karen who said pure torture. I thought that would have been Ken. I know he doesn't like the ghost box either. But what happened was is we found that to a true session, you have to have mics set up that, at least from our perspective. So just like you hear on Kindred Spirits, you hear the ghost box, you hear her response, but she doesn't hear the questions, but everybody else, the recorder hears questions. So the mics have to be set up so the recorder hears the ghost box, it hears the person responding to it, and it hears the questions coming in.
Yeah.
Right. And that way you can get everything timed together. And if you do it on two channels, you can listen to the time simultaneously, and you know exactly what was said, when it was said, how it was said. To break it down any other way is really difficult. And so far, we're still working at trying to get that Estates method, that concept working. But it's a matter of finding the right bits to put together to actually make it work.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem. And I think if we can't do that, then it's really hard to do it unless the person's in the same room. And the person has to be completely deafened to not hear the person talk. I mean, I've been in a room where even inklings you can still hear a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, what did I just hear? And did that cause me to react? Right. So that kind of negates what might be happening to a degree.
So I suppose, you know, in a way you should be wearing earplugs within your headphones so you are completely sensory deprived.
Yeah, but then again, as Mike and Bev would say many, many times, Mike B, this is Mike and Bev B, they would have said many, many times, is that sometimes it's not the outright response on the ghost box that you get. It's the stuff that's outside of that. It's like Nikki once described, it's like a whisper outside the ghost box. It's above and beyond the white noise, but it is there. If you have earplugs, then you're never going to hear that.
No.
Right. So that it's kind of like
it's a learning
curve. Matter of fact, this was just posted. I don't mind the ghost box, just for a much shorter duration. That would also be a blessing for the person having to review it. Well, yeah. That is true. That is true. And we do try to keep it down to a minimum. I think once we kind of get that sorted out, I think the Estates methods would go really well. Now, I don't know exactly how Kindred Spirits does it, because they've done it really well. Of course, they have talked to line tech people to figure this out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be really interesting if somebody put the question to us saying, how do you hook it all up? Might be worth asking someday. You know, I don't know. But the ghost box in general, I mean, I have to admit, we've had some really interesting. I mean, when you're in a place and, you know, you're asking questions, you don't get a response, or you get little things you think might be responses. And then you're like, you know what, listen, we don't, and this is after previous encounters that kind of went astray. You know, you go, we're not here to hurt you. We're not here to upset you. We don't mean to frustrate you. And across the ghost box, all you hear come out at you is bull bleep. And I'm like,
oh, Lucifer.
Or that. But we
Audio.
literally, when you get bull bleep out of the ghost box, you have to think, well, wait a minute. How much of a chance of that little bull? Yes, but bull. How much of a chance of that coming out on the radio is there? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there has been some interesting situations with that. I remember one when I was with you guys, and I know I can mention it because I advertised the fact we were at the police museum,
My
and
favorite place.
I do remember it was my first time doing that experiment, and all I got was "I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead," and that's all I could hear. You know, with the ghost box was going, and that's all that came through to me. I had the headphones on and the mask and
Blindfold, yeah.
the blindfold, and that's all the voices that I kept hearing all the time was "I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead," and it was different voices each time.
But the funny thing is, when we listened to that recording, we didn't hear it.
Really,
No, because I would have kept that. I would have told you.
that's interesting.
But I don't think we ever actually got that.
Oh, I remember that one really, really well because that actually sort of being where we were in the building.
I'm going to have to go back and look at that again.
Yeah, I think I might still have it. I'll have to have a look because I probably have my recorder on.
Thanks, Kate. You just gave me more work.
Pleasure. It's what I do.
Oh dear. Okay, so I know we're starting to run a little bit short on time, but is there anything that you would say, to anybody, either in the field or otherwise, you know what, do this, but don't do that?
Oh, that's hard to say. It really is. I mean,
No real do's and don'ts.
no, because like I say, each case is completely different, and each team is different. But I think that's why it's nice having different. I enjoy working with, like, coming down and working with you guys. I enjoy working with different people and seeing their methods. You talk about with Bev and Mike there, and I love when if they believe that there's a child and they come down to a child's level, and it's like listening to your grandparents talking. They have just such a lovely way about them, and I've tried to incorporate that with my investigations. If I believe that there's a child,
They are unique.
they are. They've got a lovely way about them. But each and every person within the field does. They have their own special way of approaching an investigation.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's like new, fresh eyes each time that you go to something where we all meet up and you get to work with different people.
Yeah.
You see how they work. And I think that's something that should be encouraged. You don't want a stereotypical team or people, you want that individuality, because I think if there's spirits out there, whatever they are, whoever they are, they're going to be drawn to somebody and maybe completely ignore another person. So I think each approach has its own values.
I can see that. I can agree with that. I think for myself, I mean, my do, I think my biggest do is when you're dealing with a client, no matter what client it is, really think hard about what you give back to them, no matter what you find. Really contemplate what you're about to give back and what you're about to tell them.
And they handle the truth.
Because that all comes into playing exactly how much, you got it, bingo.
Yeah.
How much they can actually are ready for it. And any good investigator will see this. They'll know this when they're talking to their clients, right?
Yeah.
And that's why the greatest ones are the ones that we just want to know. We have this really place. We know it's active. Tell us. Those are the fun ones. But the other ones, just they really think on it. Just don't go out and say, here's what we found. Good luck. Don't do it.
No,
because it's not
at all.
Yeah, it's not of help in any way, shape, or form. So that's my two biggest do's and don'ts. I mean, they blend together, but that's about it. So yeah. So folks, we have 3 minutes left. Oh no. Listening to Kay's lovely accent brings the question to mind: do spirits speak with their native accent? Well, we've got 2 minutes left, Kay.
I don't know. I don't have an accent.
Well, now
I'm Canadian, eh?
Well, we did get an EVP at a place that shouldn't. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's people there that have accents, I would assume, but she definitely sounded like an English accent when we got it. You have another one that said something that sounded like, although it was English, it sounded like it was a little bit off. And I remember getting an EVP at the Vancouver Police Museum that we tracked back to be Japanese, I do believe, for many. So, I mean, is it possible? I don't see why not. I mean, do you think you can go to Germany and get English answers?
Who knows? I mean, that's a question for another day, isn't it?
Well, that is a whole other question.
That's a different rabbit hole.
Well, it is, and it's a good one at that. It's a very interesting rabbit hole because it makes you wonder, and I think it would be really interesting to put that question out. You know what, folks? Tell you what we're doing. We're going to put that question out to a little thing that we got going on the Taps family, and we'll take a look. Maybe our international teams can answer that question for us. That'd be really interesting to find out. That'd be pretty cool. Well, hey, they're there, right? Might as well put it out to them because I mean I can't see going over to Germany or China or Japan or something and saying, hey, can you give me a yes? And you're gonna like, what?
But we do have our teams out there. We do have our teams out over there in Europe and all over the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we should be able to find out something.
Yeah, and a lot of them are bilingual as well. So I mean, they can ask their German ghosts and talk to them in English and see if they get a response back either in German or English.
Oh, this is a whole test, folks, that we're going to love. We'll check into it and we'll let you know. But up until now, folks, I guess what time it is. Once again, the hour has come up. So, Kay, for myself and on behalf of Mike, he's over that way somewhere. I'd like to thank you again for joining us on and co-hosting with me on Off the Cuff Paranormal. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. It's always a lot of fun. So thanks again. Thank you all for joining us. And I'm glad this worked live on Facebook. That is awesome. We'll be back in another 2 weeks, and our dear friend Mike will be back with us. So until then, folks, from myself, Daryl, and
him.
Yeah, that came. We wish you all a fantastic and great night. So good night, guys.
Good night, everyone. Good
Bye-bye.
night.